So do you think you know what makes a great sheep or mountain hunting rifle? Well, we're going to talk about that today. Now, sheep hunting has long been a really aspirational adventure for a lot of hunters, and that's thanks to a lot of times guys like Jack O'Connor, our former shooting editor. Because of him, sheep hunting is an integral part of outdoor life's DNA, and I've been fortunate enough to hunt sheep for more than 20 years myself here in Alaska. Now, through all that, I've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly of everything a sheep hunt out of your backpack and throw at you, and I've learned a thing or two about what makes an ideal sheep rifle. Now, that can vary a little bit, so we're going to go through all my, my most memorable sheep rifles that I've used, look at what's great, what sucks, and what ultimately is going to work best for you. So prepare to maybe have some of your perceptions changed and maybe some of them confirmed, and we're going to look at what makes a great sheep rifle. Now, if you enjoy this video, be sure and hit the like and subscribe button down below so you can see more of them in the future, and leave your feedback. We love hearing it. If you disagree with me, I might get on there and argue with you, but it's all good, and we're all hopefully going to learn more. So be sure and do that. All right, now if you think you need the most expensive rifle possible to hunt sheep and be successful at it, you got another thing coming. This was my very first sheep rifle, and in fact was the very first, centerfire hunting rifle I ever owned. I saved up for this thing and bought it when I was 15 years old down in southern Colorado, and brought it with me to Alaska and killed everything with it. I killed my first moose, sheep, caribou, bears, all with this gun. Now, this Model 710 is kind of the budget rifle of all budget rifles. It was .350, brand new with a Bushnell scope. Chambered in 30-06. It has, a pretty, hefty, cumbersome synthetic stock. Had a design that was cost-saving, where the lugs lock into the barrel, which is tied into the recoil lug, allowing it to have an aluminum receiver in this nylon sleeve that they claimed would never wear out. And that's one promise Remington kept. This thing is as sticky as it ever was. Now, it's just a pretty simple rifle. I topped it after I moved to Alaska, bought a Leupold Rifleman 3-9x40 scope, and zero the thing for 200 yards. And, so anything under that you hold dead on. Out to 300 you hold maybe a little high, and that's, kind of the effective range of this gun. Now, I liked 150 grain bullets for it. I shot a lot of the Hornady interlocks, and also the 150 grain Swift Sirocco's, which I have here. Now, I didn't have a bipod or anything like that. I just took this thing sheep hunting, and shooting my first ram, just rested over rock at about 250 yards and shot him. So we're here kind of to run through these rifles, and I've got a target array set up from about 250 to about 450 yards. I haven't ranged them specifically yet, and I won't for this rifle because I didn't have a rangefinder when I was using it. So, and that kind of brings up a misconception that really is worthy of being brought up, and that's sheep hunting shot distances. So over 20 years of hunting sheep and killing 15 rams myself, my average shot distance has been between 250 and 350 yards. I've shot them out to 465 was the longest, and I missed one shot at about 530 one time. And really, a lot of people are under the perception that you need to be ready to take a 800, 1,000 yard shot. That's really just nonsense. Most of your shots are going to be 250 to 350 yards, sometimes farther. And those long shots really get iffy, even for good skilled shooters with just the wind uncertainty in the mountains. So we're going to run this gun through this shooting array and see if we can do it. We've got kind of a gray wolf target at about 250, grizzly bear target at about 350, and a Dall sheep target finally at about 450 yards. And these targets are a little smaller than life size, so basically if I can hit the steel, that's a pretty solid shot on a sheep. So a lot of times sheep hunting, you're shooting, laying down on rocks or whatnot, especially if you don't have a bipod. I do have a shooting bag, so I'm going to get over here and build a position, and we got this gray wolf target down at about 250 yards. And so I should just be able to hold dead on him or just a little high. Got him. All right, now we're going to transition to about 350 yards, this grizzly bear target that's a little bit beyond it. Now this next target is about 350 yards. So I should be, you know, maybe about 10 inches low. So I'm going to hold about 5 inches over the top of his back. Got it. And really that's going to cover, you know, most of your sheep hunting shots right there. Now finally for the grand finale, we've got a doll sheep that I think is about 440, 450 yards kind of up beyond there. So we'll see how that goes. So now this is a little closer to 450 yards. This is kind of the absolute limit of where I may feel comfortable shooting, you know, without being able to dial up. So gonna be, you know, maybe around 20 inches of drop at this distance. So I'm gonna hold high and hope for the best. Oh, I actually got it. So that's all you need to know about sheep rifles. We're done. All right, so as much as I love my Remington Model 710, I was ready to move on after a couple of years. And in 2006, I believe, I bought this rifle, which is a just Remington Model 700 stainless in 25-06. Now, this rifle represents kind of a lot of maybe advancement or refinement in sheep rifles for me. It came with a black synthetic stock. I eventually had my buddy put it in this Bell & Carlson lighter weight stock that's got kind of a nice grippy texture, and optics too. You know, I started with the same setup as my 30-06, but this is a rifle where I started going to the CDS style of scope where you can dial up. Now, a lot of people kind of scoff at the dialing it up, and you don't always need to do it, but it just offers a lot more precision, and it's frankly nothing new. People have been dialing their sights up for elevation for many, many years.
Setting your rear sight higher makes you tilt your rifle up. The higher your rear sight, the higher the tilt of your rifle. Do you get that?
Now, another kind of advancement in this rifle is that how I use it is a bipod. So one year, I think it was 2007, I bought this Harris bipod, took it sheep hunting, shot a sheep off of it, and was blown away just by the stability it offered, the increase in stability. Now, you're not always going to be able to use a bipod on a sheep hunt, but it is well worth having, and I've brought one ever since. So I would carry this bipod in my backpack, and then when it came time to go on a stalk, I'd just, you know, they're a little fumbly, but I'd clip it onto the gun and go on my stalk, and a lot of sheep I've shot off this bipod. So the little bit of extra weight is worth it in this case. Overall, this rifle's a little bit lighter than my 30-06, but it's still in that like lower 8-pound range. And as you'll kind of see this theme developing, that some weight is worth it. Now, this 25-06, I normally, probably my favorite load with it was 110 grain Nosler AccuBonds. I also shot the 117 SSTs quite a bit in it, but the 110 AccuBonds were kind of my go-to, and I killed a lot of sheep with this. And now the 25-06 is a great, you know, pretty ideal type sheep cartridge. Mountain sheep are not tough to kill. You know, they seem kind of tough because they're big and live in really rough, rugged country. But as far as putting bullets in them, you know, lighter, faster cartridges that offer good trajectories really give you an advantage. And that was the 25-06 compared to the 30-06 for me. It works totally fine. And frankly, for a lot of years, I envisioned, you know, like a 22-250 being a great sheep gun. But, you know, at the time, there weren't really bullets that didn't give up a lot of wind drift. So cartridges like the 25-06 was kind of the epitome of it for me. And, you know, hopefully we'll see, it should still get the job done here. So with the CDS, what I'd end up doing is ranging my target. 271. Adjust my dial up, and since I have a bipod, I'm gonna use it if I can, and build a position. You know, some of the downside of some of these bipods is they weren't super adjustable, but that gets me leveled out pretty well and should be a dead wolf. Now I'm going to move on to the grizzly bear, get a range on that. We've got a grizzly bear on a hillside, 355. I didn't hear it, didn't look like that one hit. I'm going to try it again. There, got it. So one disadvantage to some of these lighter kind of classic sheep rifles is they're very bouncy. You know, that would be improved a little bit on a shooting bag, but even though they don't recoil hard, they don't hurt. They bounce around and you really, really struggle to see your impacts unless it's just an ideal position. So, yeah, I may have just totally missed that first shot. I have no idea. Now we'll try for the finale, the ram. A white sheep on a white background. It's hard to see, but he is 431 yards. Which is about the same as the farthest sheep I've ever killed with this particular rifle. And I had no idea on that one. So that one may or may not have hit a real sheep, but it did not hit him solidly. So that just gives me a good reason to get a better rifle, right? All right, now after years of using my 25-06 successfully, it was a great sheep rifle. I finally was able to step up to what I think most people consider a pretty ideal style of sheep rifle. This was my first custom build. It's built off a Remington Model 700 with a real thin profile Lildra barrel, full Cerakote, which is nice because sheep hunting, you know, in early August you can get these conditions. You're exposed to a lot of moisture and changing conditions, and you need something that's impervious. So it's got a lightweight Bell & Carlson stock, bedded, the works. This is a nice rifle. And we focus a lot on weight for sheep rifles because 99% of the time you're just carrying the thing around, whether it's in your hand or on your backpack. It's just a weight that you have to lug. And, you know, the more we can cut weight, the better, right? In some ways, yeah, you know, especially if you're a DIY guy and hunting in dry country where you got to carry 14 days of food and 10 liters of water, you know, up the mountain and all this stuff. You got a huge backpack. Having a lightweight rifle is pretty doggone handy. This rifle was built by my buddy Steve Hollenbeck, who started Double Broom Mountain Rifles, and he chambered it in cartridge he dubbed 27 O'Connor. Now, it's basically just a 280 improved, necked down to 270, shooting 130 grain bullet at around 3100. So it's a little faster than a regular 270. And we kind of envisioned this as, you know, what kind of the modern Jack O'Connor cartridge, or what it might be. You know, whether that's true or not, I don't know. But it's a good shooting rifle, got a really flat trajectory, and it knocks the heck out of sheep. I've killed quite a few sheep with this gun.
Just like that. Oh man, that was fast. Oh boy.
And it's just been a really great rifle. Now, this lightweight comes at a cost. You know, you've got a pretty hot cartridge in a very thin barrel, and this barrel gets smoking hot really fast. Even after 3 or 4 shots, sometimes this gun will start doing wild and crazy stuff. And that's something that I'm usually pretty skeptical when people say, but this one will do it. Now, most of the time, 1 to 3 shots, that's all you're ever going to need sheep hunting. So, you know, what's the big deal? To some people, that's worth the trade to have this kind of rifle. I've got this thing fitted with kind of a Harris style bipod with carbon fiber legs that's even a little lighter, and I've shot sheep off a bipod. One of the, you know, a rifle like this that's they're light and spindly, and they're kind of a handful to shoot really accurately and consistently. You know, the classic lines handle really well, but they don't have the best ergonomics for precision. And, you know, having something like a good shooting bag that you take with it can really improve your stability and hopefully your ability to kind of spot impacts and shoot the gun well. It's been a few years since I shot this thing at a sheep, and we're gonna run it out and see if it would kill one today. All right, now I've got the bipod, but as we kind of saw with the last rifle, and just rifles like this in general, they're kind of bouncy. So I'm just gonna shoot off the bag this time and see how that goes. You know, a good shooting bag on a rock can provide a really stable position. And so I'm going to nestle this into the bag. We've got this gray wolf down over the rock at about 260 yards, which is a good average sheep shot, and should be no problem for this gun. Shouldn't be. Try one more. There we go. I didn't see where on the plate it was hitting. All right, so we got this bear at about 350. Actually, really stable position. A lot of bag contact. Hit him. So this ram's about 430. Let's see if we can get him. There you are. Well, I got him. But one thing with this rifle and really lightweight kind of typical sheep rifles, especially in cartridges like this, is the recoil. And again, I don't know how many times I have to say this, it doesn't mean it hurts you or you're afraid of it.
But here, if this gets dented, then my hair just ain't gonna look right.
But these barkier rifles are jumpy, and I cannot see impacts with this, even that one. You know, it kind of, you, and this is how a lot of us grew up. We practice good fundamentals, you know, learn how to shoot the gun accurately, line up for a shot, squeeze the trigger, everything goes black, you have no idea what happened. And hopefully you hit the animal. Like this first shot at this wolf target down here, I have no idea where I hit or what happened with that. Shot felt good. And when that happens in the field, where you've got a ram on a mountainside and then they start bunching up and running, it incites panic a little bit. And panic is never good for good marksmanship. So if you choose a rifle like this, it's a great option, but you really got to know what you're getting into, what you may or may not be gaining, and the things you sacrifice when you pick a really light rifle. All right, so we've looked at, kind of what was my pinnacle premium sheep rifle, and now we'll take a look at a gun that has killed more sheep than pneumonia. This is a Winchester XPR that I have had for a few years, and this thing has killed like 7 rams. My buddy and I have hunted with it a couple times, doubled up on rams both times, so it's got some good mojo going for it. Now, this is a great modern budget rifle. You can get these things for less than 500 bucks, and they shoot pretty well. They have a really slick action. They feed reliably. I've hunted with it in all kinds of different conditions and temperatures. It's got good coatings and really isn't very heavy either. It's right in the ballpark, some of these other rifles we've looked at. I topped it with Leupold VX2 2-7 by 33. Any of the 2-7s or 2-8s. Optics in that range are pretty good for sheep hunting because they're lightweight and they're not over magnified, but they've still got plenty of magnification to get the job done. This rifle was what I took my longest sheep shot with. It was 465 yards, and it's just a really simple and capable rig. One thing that I use on this and have kind of gone to for a number of years now is the Spartan Precision Equipment bipod system, which you install this adapter here, and then I'll carry my bipod like in my bino harness, and you can carry the rifle around, and these lightweight bipods, when you're getting ready to shoot, you just pop them into this magnetic socket and you're good to go. Now, this model is pretty adjustable, so it really, for a lot of years, this has been about as good as you can get, in my opinion, for a good sheep hunting bipod. This is a rifle that is not super pretty, but it's surprisingly durable. The stock's a little loud, but it's got a nice stiff fore end, unlike a lot of synthetic, more affordable stocks, and it just works. It's a rifle that, I am not afraid to lend out to people, and I have, and I'm not afraid to beat the thing up either. So there's some good value in that. Now, this particular XPR is chambered in 6.5 Creedmoor. Right now I'm shooting 140 grain Barnes Harvest with a Sierra Tip Game King. Great bullet. Shot most of my sheep with a 143 ELDX in this, which is great. And the 6.5 Creedmoor, people love to hate it, love to love it. It's a little slow for really long distances in hunting, but within normal sheep hunting ranges, man, it's just a really good, solid, good shooting option. So we'll see if we can plug this wolf. I'm actually gonna get my bipod. Dial up.
You got a lens cap on.
You've got the lens cap on. Got him. With that, I can see the plate move, but I can't quite see the bullet hit. And that's an issue. Even, little 6.5s just have enough recoil that they kind of bounce you out of the sight picture. Now we'll see if I can do a repeat of my glory days and hit this. There we go. So it's still got it. And if you don't need to be fooled into thinking you need to buy a super expensive rifle to be successful. You just got to recognize, what's important to you and what you need and what you don't. All right, so now we've arrived at not what I think is the ultimate sheep hunting rifle, but a rifle that envelops a lot of the things I think would make an ultimate sheep hunting rifle.
Holy Santa Claus shit. Can you imagine if we had these when we were 12?
Even better. We got them when we're 40.
Now, these are modern cartridge design, target rifle DNA, and like just modern high quality manufacturing and just good technology. So we'll kind of walk through those before I get into the rifle itself. This rifle is one I put together, chambered in the teeny tiny little 22 ARC. Now, I've shot thousands of rounds of this in the last year or so, and I love this cartridge, which is going to require kind of a video of its own. Why do I think it's great in a sheep rifle? Well, this 80 grain ELDX, I've seen at, anything from 2,000 feet per second up to 3,000 feet per second. Penetrates really well, leaves a good wound cavity, and is more than adequate for killing sheep. So this little cartridge with an 80 grain ELDX, hand loaded to bolt gun pressures, which gives me in this load about 3,100 and change feet per second. The bullet is plenty to get the job done out beyond 600 yards. It's 2,000 feet per second out past 600 yards. It gives a flatter trajectory, better wind drift, and better impact velocity than all the guns we've looked at before. That 30-06 with 150s, the 25-06 with 110s, the 27 O'Connor with a 130 or 270 Winchester, and the 6.5 Creedmoor. Now, you could come up with a combination of some of those in the right barrel or load that may eke beyond what this does, but overall, this tiny little cartridge offers a lot. And even better, it has basically zero recoil and is a much more shootable platform, both in how easy it is and fun it is to shoot, how accurate it is. This is just a stupid accurate little cartridge, especially in this rifle. And it doesn't burn up your barrel, doesn't heat your barrel up super high. You can shoot at a lot and practice at a lot higher volume than really any of these other cartridges with a lot less powder. And those are really valuable things that this brings to the table. Now, this rifle itself, I'll tell you what I like about it and what I think could be better. So it's built on a Zermatt Origin action, which is a really solid, dependable action that you can get prefits for. I think it would be a little better in the titanium action. You could cut some weight. It's got a 20-inch proof barrel that was chambered by Hoover Precision Rifles out of Montana for me. And it's just a really, really good shooting rifle. Wouldn't change anything about the barrel. The stock is MDT carbon stock. Now, this is a high-tech carbon fiber stock that does a really great job of capturing target rifle ergonomics. In fact, I used this stock on my NRL open light gun this summer to finish really well at the Alaska NRL match. It's got integrated Arca rail for clamping into a tripod or different types of bipods. I put a piece of M-Lock Picatinny rail on there for this MDT mountain bipod, which was designed and made by MTN Gear out of New Zealand. And this is just a super, super lightweight bipod that's ultra versatile. And if you've used a SkyPod before, you're just going to fall in love with this thing once you use it. Now, up front, I've got a lightweight B&T Print X 556 suppressor. And this is, it's a great can. It's not the lightest out there. And every day, frankly, we're getting lighter and better 3D printed suppressors. So, that's a step forward, which also makes the gun more enjoyable to shoot and easier to shoot well. I've got it topped with a full pick rail, which if I wanted to cut weight, you could lighten that up. Seekins rings and this Steiner H6XI 2-12 first focal plane scope. And I've been using this thing all year, and I really, really like this optic. And it's a little heavy, but it's not overboard for sheep. Now, one of the big drawbacks of a 22 ARC in a rifle like this is right now magazines are not super plentiful. I packed an MDT 10 round mag, and it's really kind of excessive. But Hawkins Precision, I know, is coming out with some more flush fitting ARC mags, and hopefully that situation will improve, but that is a disadvantage. Now, overall, this rifle weighs a little over 9 pounds, which, a lot of old time sheep hunters are scoffing at that, but really it's not too bad. I've got way more than a couple pounds around my waist that I could lose if I really need to cut weight.
I have what doctors call a little bit of a weight problem.
And after dragging this rifle through the mountains, I find just that the superb shootability of it and the confidence that gives me offsets the little bit of extra weight. And that's a balance you have to strike for yourself. You got to decide, try different stuff and decide, you know, what's important to you and how much confidence do you want in your ability to shoot the gun versus how much weight are you willing to carry. Now, one of the other, you know, if you're embracing technology, one of the nice things that I have set up with this rifle is a set of range finding binos with ballistics in them. So I set up my profile, range it, and it tells me exactly how far I need to adjust my scope to be dead on. And that kind of circumvents, you know, the CDSs are great and they work well, but they aren't as precise as, you know, a device that can take into account conditions and all this. Like these things, I mean, you can even put your best guess at wind direction and speed, and it'll give you a wind call. And it's not too bad, you know, like we've got a slight wind and it's just telling me, you know, to hold 2/10, which is not much, but we will go ahead and see how we like this. You know, this bipod, you can get it out pretty wide. That's a little too wide. So that hit pretty much mid, and then so I'll you know, I'll get caught up in everything. Take my binos, we'll range that bear. That one pretty centered up as well. And if you notice, like this gun just barely moves, and depending on how solid your position is, sometimes you can even see the trace of your bullet going into the target, and that's both fun and really valuable, you know, especially in the field. So I held 3/10 and it hit about 2/10 left. So let me see if I can just hit him right in the head. Not that I would advocate that. Pretty close. We're talking about that far off. So this is just a superbly accurate and shootable rifle. And if you can tolerate packing that through the mountains, that's going to give you a big advantage when it comes, and just level of certainty when it comes to shooting your sheep. So we've wound up with this rifle that's highly customized and pretty doggone expensive. And expense is something that, you know, can kind of muddy the waters when it comes to hunting rifles. A very talented hunter can do more with a $350 rifle than, you know, than someone who doesn't know what they're doing with the most expensive gun possible. You know, you don't want to be the rich fat guy coming into sheep camp with all the best matching gear and the most expensive rifle only to blow a box full of ammo at a sheep that starts out at 200 yards, because that does happen sometimes.
There you go. There you go.
But you want to recognize within your budget, you know, the features you can afford that will actually improve shootability and help make the rifle more effective for you. So I don't think this is quite the ultimate sheep rifle yet, but I'm on my way. And that's part of the fun of it, is it's going to be a lifelong pursuit, trying to improve the fun and shootability and effectiveness of my sheep gun.